Joel Klatt, as you know, of Fox, that covers a lot of Michigan's games. He's come out with a top 10, I believe it is, and Michigan number 2 nationally on Mr. Klatt's list, and he's a guy that sees a lot of the Wolverines. Like I mentioned, your initial reaction to Michigan being number 2 on his list.
Well, it doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, Joel Klatt has always been kind of bullish, giving Michigan, the benefit of the doubt in preseason rankings, even back in the Brady Hoke era. I mean, I remember at Big Ten, he was always at Big Ten media days. He really does his research, not just the Big Ten, but all leagues. And he's pretty smart guy. I've always appreciated his intel, and I think what it's kind of a no brainer that Michigan be number 2. I mean, considering for all the reasons we've cited the last few weeks about how much depth on both sides of the ball, and you have your starting quarterback. Now, Georgia does not have their starting quarterback back, nor does a lot of teams in the hunt. Obviously, Ohio State and Bama has to break in a new one, and Penn State has a freshman quarterback freshman last year who saw some actions, got some experience, and then USC with Caleb Williams. So some do, some don't, but it didn't surprise me, and I like number 2 versus number 1, quite honestly, John. A little less pressure, a little hanging in the weeds a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's very reasonable. You've got Georgia, who has been on the top of the heap, and they ought to be up there. I think Michigan at 2 is a great spot, and I think that it's well deserved for what they've done. And yes, there have been disappointments in these playoff games, but one of them was to the national champion in Georgia, and the other was they got in the shootout and they didn't quite pull it out. So, and the other thing was about that is that Ohio State, number 3 on Klatt's list, hung with Georgia for a long while in that national championship game, giving you the thought that, well, Michigan this year probably could have done the same thing because why? Well, obviously the Wolverines went into Columbus and knocked off the Buckeyes. I understand the transitive property, and you can't go by that always, but it's still Michigan was a very competitive team last year, and I think they would have had a shot to hang with Georgia. So I like number 2 for Michigan. What also is attention grabbing there, however, is that 1, 3, and 5 are all Big Ten teams. So it's not like Michigan's alone in the high estimation of one Mr. Klatt. You've got the Buckeyes, who at number 3, who are coming up to Ann Arbor this year, and then you've got, of course, Penn State, who is getting a lot of hype and a lot of regard this year. Which you've got Penn State is that team that Michigan has to visit this year. Not only, not comfortably when all the leaves are changing around State College and when it's beautiful, but into November when it can get a little bit windy and nippy out there. We're going to see what's going on. You know that Penn State is going to be gearing up. They're going for the stripe out where you have white and blue alternating in the stands. And I think that's going to be a game to circle almost as much as Ohio State. So talk about these big 3 of the Big Ten and the Big Ten East, of course, which, just seems to lie in wait for each other, and then gets a West team almost as a break in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah. And Penn State doesn't surprise me. They lost, 2 games last year, Michigan and Ohio State. And, they won the Rose Bowl. They won their bowl game. When you win a New Year's Six game, you get a lot of cred that rolls into the next year. And that was a good situation for a good momentum into the next year. And you got the 2 incredible, really solid running backs that Penn State has coming back, and then obviously in the quarterback. I mean, this this Nick Singleton is running back, and then as Katon Allen, the other guy. I think they were both freshmen last year, both back to enter their sophomore seasons. Wow, you have that, and then you have and Drew Aller, the quarterback. He was a 5-star, and he got in at the at the back end of the year, and so you could really compare not as much experience as JJ McCarthy has, but that backfield with the two running backs and the quarterback, that's got the potency that Michigan has. And so I think that has a lot of reason that they're, cited really highly, as well as also returning players on both sides of the ball. Now, Penn State has to play at Ohio State, but they get to host Michigan. And when I look at that schedule, which I look at on occasion, right? November 11th, wow. We know it's not going to be a night game, right? Because Ohio State is hosting Michigan State that night on NBC. So I'm thinking, I'm thinking it's going to be one, that Fox big game, big noon kickoff thing that they've been promoting over the last couple of years. I think and I like that 12 o'clock slot. But I'll tell you what, this Penn State team is going to be a tough out. They're kind of be hurting these last two games. Michigan has beat them. They beat them obviously 2 years ago in that late touchdown, and then last year. So look out! That's going to be a Donnybrook, if you will.